On more than one occasion, I've had somebody tell me I'm too young to be depressed. I think it's a little unfair to say that. I think being in different phases of your life presents its own set of challenges, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I think when you're young, there's so much that you don't know, and then you set up these expectations for your life. High school is hard, but you're gonna go to college, you're gonna start this job or whatever, and things are gonna get better. But I don't know if that's necessarily the truth. I mean, some people think college is the best 4 years of your life, or high school is the best 4 years of your life. You don't really know what being an adult is like until you actually become one. You learn that everything is expensive, from buying groceries to paying rent to getting your car fixed. And it's the first time in your life that school is no longer mandatory, so you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that you decide to do with your life. You have to decide, you know, am I gonna go to college? Like, do I even know what I wanna go to college for? Or like, if I'm like a lot of people and I don't really know what it is I wanna do with my life, is college the right way to go? And a very common theme of going to college is starting to really get into your major and realizing that maybe this isn't what you want. Maybe you start really getting into the weeds of a particular subject and you realize that you're not really interested in it anymore, or you don't see yourself doing it for a living. And it's something that you've built up in your head for such a long time, like, you know, I want to be this, I'm gonna do this with my life, this is gonna be my job, this is my identity. And to not have that anymore is really challenging. And you have to kind of decide, you know, am I just gonna finish this because I've already started it, or am I gonna change majors and maybe have to stay in school longer? And if you decide to stay, like, what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna kind of hope that you can do something else? And of course, this is very common. A lot of people have jobs that have nothing to do with their major. I've seen it many, many times before. But there are a lot of expectations placed upon you when you're a young person. You're expected to graduate college and move out and get a job and start living on your own and being this independent person. And of course, a lot of people struggle to get a job, or maybe they get a job and they're like, wow, I actually don't really enjoy this. This isn't really what I expected. This goes back to something I've said before, and it's just that you don't know what you want until you have it. And you don't know what something's going to be like until you actually do it. And if you decide that what you thought you wanted to do isn't really what you're going to do, you kind of have to start back at square one, and it's really scary to be in that place. And with it comes a lot of self-doubt and loss of identity and things that are really challenging for anyone to go through. There's also the expectation of getting into a loving, stable, long-term relationship, so that that's somebody that you could possibly marry in the future. I was watching a video from Best Dressed, aka Ashley, and she was saying how dating is like a deck of cards, right? And you can draw one card at a time, and this is the person you're dating, and there's a number on that card, and that number is how compatible you are with the other person. So the thing with dating, obviously, is that you can only draw one card at a time, but you can't look at the rest of the cards in the deck. So you don't know if the card you have now is going to be the highest that you'll ever get. Or if you do decide to find out what other cards are in the deck, maybe you lost someone that was actually really great for you. Relationships are really difficult because you never really learn how to coexist with another person, and how to effectively emotionally support each other, how to communicate effectively, and overall just how to be a good partner. And it's also really hard to look at a person and be like, this is the person I'm gonna be with for the rest of my life. Because how do you know? You know, you're in your 20s or 30s or whatever, but how do you know what you're gonna need in your 60s or 70s? How do you know what kind of person you're gonna be, what kind of person your partner is gonna be X amount of years from now? How do you know you're gonna be right for each other? And in that case, marriage even be on the table, or are you just gonna take your chances, or like, what's the deal, right? How do you know what the right thing to do is? Even friendships are really difficult when you're an adult, let alone dating. Outside of college, it can be really challenging to make friends that aren't just people that you happen to work with, or maybe people that live right next door to you. It's definitely a challenge to meet people that you're compatible with, whether platonically or romantically, outside the very comfortable social atmosphere of college or high school. And of course, friendships are harder to maintain unless you live in a small town or you work in the same place. It's really hard to organically just bump into someone and strike up a conversation and then just be like, hey, like, you want to go grab food with me right now? When you're an adult, people are busy, they have a lot going on, and it can be very easy for there to be months and months and months in between when you see your friends. The good thing is most people understand this, and it's not too difficult to pick up where you left off, but friendships are something that require a lot more scheduling and effort in order to actually maintain when you're an adult. And also your relationship with your parents. parents, it definitely changes when you get older. You slowly go from them taking care of you to you taking care of them. Having an adult relationship with your parents can be really challenging. As you get older, you kind of realize how you were raised and how you were treated as a child has a lot to do with the problems that you have now as an adult. And sometimes you have to talk to your parents to resolve that and find a way to forgive them, but that's definitely something that's challenging to navigate. What I've been struggling with immensely recently is just my relationship with work. I have just so deeply felt the burden of making something of myself, making enough money to support myself, and balancing doing something that I love and money, because that's something that can be kind of challenging in creative fields. In this day and age, it's really easy for people to feel like machines, and especially college students that are in really difficult programs, and they're studying and working all day because that's what they feel like they have to do, and it's at the expense of our mental health, our self-esteem, and just generally our will to live. I really wish we didn't feel this pressure to overwork ourselves. This is something I've been feeling for most of my life, and I find it really hard to get away from that. I don't know if I'm doing a very good job at illustrating my point, but I think there's something wrong with the fact that we normalize 80-hour work weeks and sleep deprivation night after night. Obviously, we have a big culture of like self-care and, you know, taking care of your mental health, but we also have a culture of hustling and work hard now and enjoy your life later. And this mentality that working hard is going to solve all your problems. And obviously, I'm young, I don't know much, but I don't think that's good for people. In conclusion, what I'm trying to say is when you're young, there's a lot of uncertainty in your life. And I struggle with the difficulties and the uncertainty that's in my life, and they certainly contribute to my mental illness. But I don't think it's fair to just say that because I'm young and I'm energetic and I have my life ahead of me that I'm not allowed to be struggling, that I'm not allowed to say that I've had a tough week, a tough month, tough year. I really want to end this by having something encouraging to say. I think most of the struggles we have as people we like to think of as only our own struggles, but the truth is probably tons, like millions of people also struggle with the same thing that you're struggling with. Basically what I'm trying to say is the very stereotypical, you're not alone, but it's true, you know, it's something that you can talk to other people about and you can bond over your struggles together. I think the uncertainties and difficulties of being in this stage in our lives is not only very common, but also just something that comes with life. You can try to reframe it in a more positive way in that things are uncertain, but that's kind of the fun of it. You know, your life can go in whatever direction you want it to. One thing that I like to remind myself of is that there's so much that I don't know. There's so many jobs out there that I have no idea about. There's so many opportunities that I'm going to seek out. There's so many cool people that are going to come into my life that I'm going to be grateful that I met. It's hard to turn uncertainty into something that is positive and that you can look forward to, but you can kind of choose to believe that something good is waiting for you. Because at the end of the day, we all figure it out eventually. As difficult and as painful as it may be, we all find our place in this world where we can feel content and things feel like they make sense and we feel secure. And that might not happen for a long time, or maybe it takes years and years, but it's definitely something to look forward to. Thanks for joining me on my rant. My name is Grace, and I'll see you next time. Bye.